What's up? It's Brandon teaching you how to make, save, and invest money. Now, obviously, you've heard the recession in 2020 is supposed to happen, and we've seen so many articles pertaining to it, and it's got a lot of us scared thinking, what is the next step? What are we gonna do? So in this video, we're gonna be talking about some steps that you can take so you can prepare for the recession and how you can come up on top. Instead of being one of the people who maybe lose money, you can be one of the people who make money. Now be sure to go and hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that bell notification for more videos like this one. Now usually when it comes to recessions, people don't understand it. It's usually a part of the economy, and it's not usually saying whether we'll have a recession, but when we'll have a recession. Now, in this article by Forbes, they say a typical growing economy is 3.2 years, and typically a recession is 1.5 years, and the full business cycle is about 4.7 years. So typically around 4.7 years, or every 5 years, we're technically supposed to get a recession. With that being said, what can you do to make sure that you thrive during a recession and you come up on top even better than when the recession started? First tip is an emergency fund. Now, typically an emergency fund is a fund that you have for an emergency. It is self-explanatory, but for an emergency fund, you want to make sure that you have this because usually during recessions, you get a lot of layoffs. And with a lot of layoffs, you're not going to have a job or no source of income. So it's always good to have an emergency fund, which is usually 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. So no, this does not mean how much it costs to buy Yeezys or go out for a dinner. This means how much it costs to pay your rent, your utilities, all these essential things that you use on a daily basis. You need to have about 3 to 6 months. That's what it says, but I would usually use about 8 to 9 months just to be on the safer side. Now, what this emergency fund does is it makes sure that you're not put in a situation where you have to go out there, find a loan, or go out there and try to find money quickly. Because usually during a recession, the cost of getting money or getting money on hand is going to be even more, and you're going to be put in a strenuous situation where you're going to have to pay a lot back for that money that you're borrowing. So you want to have that money on hand for any type of emergency you may have. Number 2 is you definitely want to pay off debt. Paying off debt is something that you shouldn't actually be waiting for a recession to do, but you want to make sure that you pay off every high interest debt that you may have. Minimizing your debt during any single situation, this includes a recession or just a regular year, it's going to allow you to do more with your money. It's going to allow you to invest your money. It's going to allow you to save more money. Just paying off any type of debt is going to help you in the long run, period. And think about it this way. If your debt is paid off, you can actually use that money to position yourself in a recession to be in a better position after the recession is done. If you're not using that money to pay off debt, you can use that money to be investing in different companies during the recession. So eventually when the recession ends and the company starts to thrive again, you will be making more dough. Honestly, people think that during a recession, they should be holding on to their money, but don't let a recession stop you from paying off your debts or saving for an emergency fund. This is something that you should be doing all year round, regardless of the situation. And honestly, this is something that you shouldn't be waiting for a major event to happen before you do this. This is things that you put in place to make sure it solidifies your future. Now, the next thing is dollar cost averaging. Now, typically what happens is people will look at a stock, they'll see it doing well, they'll see it thriving, they'll see it growing, but in the back of their heads, they're like, I'm going to wait on this. I'm going to wait to see if it grows a little more. Lo and behold, 2, 3, 4 years later, the stock is already still doing good. And they're like, all right, I'm going to get into it. And by that time, that's when the stock doesn't really thrive anymore. It doesn't grow anymore. It's because they wait. They wait too long to get into the opportunity. With dollar cost averaging, what you're doing is you're allocating a specific amount of money every single month and investing regardless of how the stock market is doing, regardless of how the market is doing, if it's going up or down, whether companies are thriving or not, you are putting money into the market regardless. You're not listening to, these analysts. You're not listening to your friends. You're investing regardless of how the market is doing. When you have this way of thinking and you invest regardless of how the market is doing, you will thrive in a recession, because usually in the recession, people aren't thinking to invest. They are thinking, I need to save as much money as possible. But during recessions, this is when millionaires are made, because this is when things are cheap. This is when, stocks are cheaper. So this is probably the best time to get into opportunities. And people usually, they don't have the funds to do it because they're too busy paying off debt. They're too busy, saving their money. But this is the time where you should be using your money to create assets, go out there, get more stocks, go out there, get more real estate. This is when you thrive. Now, number 4 is risk tolerance. Now, with stocks or investing, a lot of times what I find is people go off of what they hear, what analysts are talking about, or what their friends are doing. Their friends will say, oh, I got a hot stock tip. And they'll usually just follow the tip. They won't do any of their own research. They won't actually know what the company is. They'll just hop into it just because a friend said to do something. Listen, when it comes to investing in anything, you must invest in things that you only understand. Don't invest in things that you don't understand. You don't know how it makes money. You don't know how it grows. Those are the best investments to get into. The ones that you understand what's going on, because at least okay, if it doesn't do well, I understand why it didn't do well. You honestly don't want to invest in anything that you're not completely using or not understanding. With all the stocks in my portfolio, I usually know exactly what the company does. I know how the company makes money, and I've done my ample research on it to make sure, okay, I know if they're thriving, if they're doing well, I know why. It's not because somebody told me to invest in it. Now, with risk tolerance, what you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever amount of money that you're investing, you're completely okay with losing that money. What I find is people will put in large amounts of money, but they're not really okay with losing that money. That money loss can actually really hurt them. With investing, you got to realize that any moment, any second, that investment can be gone. You can lose it. So you need to make sure that the risk tolerance is there. Okay, I might lose this much if I invest it, but I can make this much. Am I okay with losing this amount of money? I have to say this again. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Be completely okay with the amount of money that you are putting into an investment. Be okay with it, because if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, you losing that money can completely ruin you. That isn't a good investment at all. That's you just, putting your eggs in one basket. You want to have risk tolerance and be sure that, okay, if this doesn't do well, that it's not gonna hurt me in the long run, that I will lose money, but it's not gonna be enough to end my life and completely mess everything up. And with those 4 tips, you will be on your merry way to surviving the 2020 recession. If you made it to the end of the video, let me know. What are you gonna do in the 2020 recession? How are you gonna invest? How are you gonna prepare? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell if you found this video helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.